I decided to call off my wedding after discovering my fiancé excluded my daughter while inviting other children, blaming her for an incident at our engagement party. Addison, 40, and I, 38, had been together for 3 years, and our relationship was solid until our engagement 6 months ago. Discussions about the wedding began to strain things, particularly over who would be invited. I wanted my daughter there, naturally, but Addison firmly stated she wanted a child-free wedding. This was odd, as Addison has 2 children from a previous marriage and is close to her nieces and nephews. Despite her reasoning that children would make the wedding stressful, I reluctantly agreed, on the condition that no children from her side would attend either. This included her own children and relatives. It was tough, especially since my daughter is 14 and not a small child. Still, Addison refused exceptions, claiming it would upset others if we allowed one child. I was upset but decided to go along with her wishes since the wedding was intended to be small, held in my parents' backyard. I told myself the kids wouldn't be missing much. Everything changed a few days before the wedding. While at work, I received an email from Addison's sister, Kate, meant for Addison. It included pictures of Kate's daughters in wedding outfits, seeking approval. Confused, I realized Kate had mistakenly sent it to our joint wedding email account. By the time I checked again, Addison had deleted it. I captured a screenshot before it vanished, and the truth dawned: Addison was secretly inviting children from her side while excluding my daughter. I kept quiet, pretending nothing was wrong. Addison seemed on edge initially, likely suspecting I'd seen the email, but she calmed down when I didn't confront her. 2 days before the wedding, I decided to speak with my daughter about her feelings towards Addison. My daughter revealed Addison's behavior had changed after our engagement. Addison was warm and kind when I was around but distant and dismissive when I wasn't. She hadn't spoken up earlier because she didn't want to ruin my happiness. Hearing this broke my heart. I realized I'd been wrong to let Addison convince me to exclude my daughter. The next day, I told Addison the wedding was off. I didn't return home, instead spending the day with my daughter. I informed my parents, knowing Addison would contact them. The morning of the wedding, I arrived at my parents' house an hour before the ceremony. Addison's family and their children were already there. Addison rushed to me, making excuses for the children's presence, claiming her sisters couldn't leave them behind and her parents insisted on her kids attending. I stayed silent, letting her ramble. When she questioned my whereabouts the previous night, I showed her the email screenshot. Her excuses stopped. I told her I knew about her dishonesty and that she'd been treating my daughter poorly. I couldn't marry someone who didn't value my child. Ignoring her protests, I left. I turned off my phone, shared the basics with close friends and family, and focused on my daughter. Over the next few days, Addison and her family bombarded me with calls and messages, accusing me of overreacting and refusing to hear her out. Addison claimed she had reasons for excluding my daughter but refused to explain. When she finally did, her reasoning shocked me. At our engagement party, my daughter had been unwell but joined briefly before resting upstairs. Addison visited her room and overheard her laughing on the phone with a friend, which led her to believe my daughter had faked being sick to draw attention. Instead of addressing this directly, Addison shared her concerns with her sisters, fueling her belief that my daughter disliked her and would cause problems. This one incident caused Addison to distance herself from my daughter. Hearing this, I was appalled. My daughter explained she'd been chatting with a friend to distract herself from feeling unwell, not pretending to be sick. Addison's assumptions and actions were unjustifiable. I moved out temporarily, asking Addison to leave the house since it belonged to me before our relationship. She pleaded for another chance, claiming her sisters had influenced her judgment. While I empathized with her regret, I stood firm. My daughter comes first, and Addison's actions showed a lack of respect for that. Since then, my daughter and I have grown closer. We've reconnected and rebuilt the openness we once shared. Looking back, I'm grateful I ended the relationship. Although difficult, it reaffirmed my priorities. My daughter's well-being and our bond are what matter most. Addison's motives and behavior revealed deeper issues, and I have no regrets about putting my family first. Now, we're planning a beach vacation to celebrate moving forward. Despite the upheaval, I'm optimistic about the future. To provide a more in-depth perspective, it's worth revisiting the events leading up to this decision and their emotional weight. When Addison first suggested the child-free wedding, it seemed out of character. She had always presented herself as someone who valued family deeply. Her own children were integral to her life, and she'd formed strong bonds with her nieces and nephews. The sudden insistence on excluding all children, including my daughter, raised questions that I dismissed at the time. The months following our engagement were marked by subtle changes. Addison became more controlling over wedding decisions, often dismissing my input. I attributed it to pre-wedding stress, but in hindsight, it was a red flag. Her refusal to compromise on the guest list was particularly hurtful. My daughter had been excited about the wedding, eager to support me and celebrate. To exclude her felt like a betrayal of my role as her father. When Kate's email revealed Addison's true intentions, it was both a shock and a turning point. The betrayal was twofold: Addison had lied to me, and she had actively sought to exclude my daughter while prioritizing her own family. Her actions spoke volumes about her values and how she viewed my daughter's place in our lives. It was a clear indication that she didn't see us as equals in the relationship. The conversation with my daughter 2 days before the wedding was heartbreaking. She had noticed Addison's shift in behavior but kept silent to avoid upsetting me. This revelation was a wake-up call. I had been so focused on building a future with Addison that I'd overlooked my daughter's needs and feelings. Her honesty and vulnerability underscored the importance of putting her first. Calling off the wedding was not an easy decision, but it was the right one. On the day of the wedding, seeing Addison's family with their children confirmed my suspicions. Addison's attempts to justify her actions only reinforced her lack of accountability. By walking away, I reclaimed my integrity and reaffirmed my commitment to my daughter. In the aftermath, Addison's attempts to explain herself further revealed her flawed reasoning. Her belief that my daughter had intentionally disrupted the engagement party was baseless and unfair. This incident highlighted a deeper issue: Addison's insecurity and unwillingness to address conflicts constructively. Her decision to involve her sisters rather than communicate with me or my daughter demonstrated poor judgment and a lack of respect. As I reflect on this experience, I'm reminded of the importance of trust, communication, and shared values in a relationship. Addison's actions eroded the foundation of our partnership, making it impossible to move forward. While the end of our relationship was painful, it was also liberating. It allowed me to refocus on what truly matters: my relationship with my daughter and our shared happiness. Moving forward, I'm committed to fostering an environment of openness and support for my daughter. Our upcoming beach vacation is a chance to create new memories and celebrate our bond. I'm grateful for the lessons this experience has taught me and optimistic about the future. Despite the challenges, I've emerged stronger and more certain of my priorities. My daughter's well-being will always come first, and I'm determined to build a life that reflects that. Looking deeper into the aftermath of my decision, I've realized how much Addison's actions affected my outlook on relationships. I had always believed in compromise and understanding, but Addison's lack of transparency shattered that faith. Her unwillingness to address the issues directly, choosing instead to manipulate and control the situation, left me questioning the foundation of our partnership. For example, in the weeks leading up to the wedding, Addison's dismissive attitude toward my concerns became more apparent. Whenever I brought up my daughter's exclusion, she would deflect, focusing on other aspects of the wedding planning. Her refusal to engage in meaningful conversations about the guest list was frustrating. It felt like my voice didn't matter, and my daughter's presence was being disregarded entirely. Even small decisions, like the choice of music or the seating arrangements, became battlegrounds where Addison would dominate the conversation. She insisted on having things her way, often ignoring my input. While these might seem like minor grievances, they painted a larger picture of a relationship lacking balance and mutual respect. My friends and family began to notice these dynamics, though they were hesitant to speak up. In hindsight, I wish I had paid more attention to their subtle warnings. Several friends expressed concern about Addison's controlling behavior, but I brushed it off, attributing it to the stress of wedding planning. It wasn't until the incident with Kate's email that I fully understood the extent of Addison's manipulations. When I confronted Addison about the email, her initial reaction was denial. She tried to downplay the significance of her actions, claiming it was a misunderstanding. However, the evidence was undeniable. Her attempts to rewrite the narrative only deepened my frustration. It was clear she wasn't willing to take responsibility for her choices. This pattern of deflection and avoidance became a recurring theme in our interactions. Even after I called off the wedding, Addison's messages were filled with excuses and justifications. She seemed more concerned with salvaging her image than addressing the hurt she had caused. Her lack of genuine remorse reinforced my decision to end the relationship. In the weeks that followed, I leaned heavily on my support system. My parents were a constant source of encouragement, reminding me of the importance of standing by my values. Friends who had initially stayed silent began to open up, sharing their observations about Addison's behavior. These conversations validated my feelings and helped me process the events. One of the most rewarding aspects of this journey has been the strengthening of my bond with my daughter. She's always been my priority, but this experience has deepened our connection. We've spent countless hours talking, laughing, and rebuilding the trust that was strained during my relationship with Addison. Seeing her smile and hearing her share her thoughts freely has been a source of immense joy. As we prepare for our beach vacation, I'm filled with hope and excitement. It's a chance to leave the past behind and focus on the future. I've learned valuable lessons about the importance of honesty, communication, and shared values. These principles will guide me as I move forward, ensuring that my relationships are built on a foundation of mutual respect and understanding. Addison's departure from my life has been both a loss and a liberation. While it's painful to let go of the future we had planned, it's also a relief to no longer feel trapped in a relationship that didn't honor my values. I'm grateful for the clarity this experience has brought, and I'm committed to creating a life that prioritizes love, integrity, and connection. In the weeks following the end of my engagement to Addison, life has been a mix of challenges and revelations. I spent a considerable amount of time reflecting on what went wrong and how I could ensure such a situation wouldn't repeat itself in the future. What struck me most was how subtle and insidious Addison's behavior had been. It wasn't overtly malicious, but the cumulative effect of her actions painted a clear picture of someone who lacked respect for me as a partner and, more importantly, as a father. The realization of Addison's manipulations was sobering. Her decision to exclude my daughter from the wedding while inviting her own children and relatives' children was just the tip of the iceberg. It spoke to a deeper issue of disregard for the people who mattered most to me. Her willingness to deceive me and manipulate the situation for her benefit revealed a selfishness that I hadn't recognized before. After calling off the wedding, I took the necessary steps to protect my peace and well-being. I informed Addison that she needed to move out of my house, as it was mine before we were together. I gave her ample time to find a new place, but I made it clear that I needed my space back. The process was emotionally taxing, but it was essential for my mental health and my relationship with my daughter. During this time, I leaned heavily on my support system. My parents were a constant source of strength, and my friends rallied around me, providing both practical help and emotional support. Many of them shared their observations about Addison's behavior that they hadn't voiced earlier. It was eye-opening to hear how others had perceived the dynamic of our relationship. Their honesty reinforced my decision to end things with Addison. My daughter, too, became a cornerstone of my healing process. Our relationship, which had been strained during my engagement to Addison, began to mend. We spent more time together, talking openly about everything that had happened. Her maturity and insight amazed me. She expressed her relief that I had ended things with Addison and shared her hopes for our future. These conversations deepened our bond and reminded me of what truly matters. One of the most difficult aspects of this experience was confronting the guilt I felt for not seeing the warning signs sooner. There were moments during my relationship with Addison when I felt uneasy, but I brushed them aside, convincing myself that her intentions were good. I now see how important it is to trust my instincts and to prioritize my own values and boundaries in a relationship. As Addison packed her belongings and prepared to move out, she continued to reach out, asking for another chance. She claimed that she had learned from her mistakes and wanted to make things right. While I appreciated her remorse, I knew that the damage had been done. Her actions had broken my trust, and I couldn't see a path forward for us. I explained this to her as kindly as I could, but I stood firm in my decision. The day Addison finally moved out was bittersweet. There was a sense of closure, but also a lingering sadness for what could have been. I had genuinely loved her and had envisioned a future together. Letting go of that vision was painful, but it was necessary for my own growth and for the sake of my daughter. With Addison out of the picture, I turned my focus to rebuilding my life. I threw myself into my work, taking on new challenges and projects that reignited my passion. I also made a conscious effort to spend quality time with my daughter, making up for the months when our relationship had taken a back seat to my engagement. We went on weekend trips, explored new hobbies together, and simply enjoyed each other's company. Our beach vacation, which had been planned as a way to celebrate moving forward, was a turning point. The sun, sand, and sea provided the perfect backdrop for us to relax and reconnect. My daughter's laughter was infectious, and her joy reminded me of the resilience of the human spirit. The trip was a reminder that even in the face of heartbreak, there is always the possibility of healing and happiness. As I reflect on everything that has happened, I am filled with gratitude for the lessons I've learned. This experience has taught me the importance of staying true to myself and standing up for what I believe in. It has reinforced my commitment to being the best father I can be and to building a life that reflects my values. Moving forward, I am more mindful of the qualities I seek in a partner. Trust, honesty, and mutual respect are non-negotiable. I am no longer willing to compromise on these principles, no matter how strong the initial attraction may be. I am confident that the right person will not only accept my daughter but will embrace her as an integral part of my life. For now, I am focused on the present. My daughter and I are in a good place, and that is what matters most. The road ahead may not always be smooth, but I am prepared to face whatever challenges come my way. This journey has shown me that I am stronger than I realized, and that strength will carry me through whatever lies ahead. In closing, I want to emphasize the importance of listening to your instincts and staying true to your values. It can be easy to lose sight of what matters when you're caught up in the excitement of a new relationship. But at the end of the day, your integrity and your relationships with the people who truly matter are what define you. For me, that means putting my daughter first and creating a life that reflects my love and commitment to her. The future is uncertain, but I am optimistic. I know that brighter days are ahead, and I am ready to embrace them with open arms. My journey is far from over, but I am confident that I am on the right path. And for that, I am deeply grateful. Thank you for watching the video. Subscribe and turn on notifications to be the first to have radish and real stories with you. Have a great day.